were just talking about P.diddy before the break.
Right.
And, there's allegations that he forced himself on Meek Mill more than once.
Oh my God. There's
Anything.
young people in the entertainment industry. How do you
Yes.
feel
Mhm.
talented children and their families navigate the lasciviousness, the sort of sleazy underbelly part of the entertainment industry?
Looking at, for example, the P.diddy situation, again, it comes up because, Justin Bieber was 14, Usher was about 16. You got things like Amanda Bynes, Macaulay Culkin, Britney Spears, all those people. And it's now coming to light that certain things happen to them.
Welcome to CooLife Podcast, brought to you by TheRealThingDating.com. www.TheRealThingDating.com.
Polydor Records for out scouting. This girl grabbed my bangs and ran my head right into the speaker.
Oh.
And everyone cheered like this. Yeah.
When we shot the scene in Good Will Hunting, I didn't know who most of these people were at the time. I mean, they weren't stars. It was Gus Van Sant that directed it. Gus Van Sant was on the floor with Matt Damon's character. I didn't even know who Matt Damon was at that time.
I'm Eva John. I'm a former candidate for local government. I was a children's television entertainer, and I love this world, and I believe we should take care of each other and have a lot of fun along the way. Welcome to CooLife. Here we go.
Trigger warning. In this episode, there is some discussion of abuse and inappropriate conduct.
And welcome to CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and we are continuing our conversation with OLIVIA PFAFF, who is a filmmaker, a director, producer, writer, journalist, recognized worldwide for multiple awards for her documentary film on the Ukraine War in the Eyes of Refugees. And recognized at the Cannes Cinema as Best Female Director. OLIVIA, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just such a beautiful day. I'm out in California for the next little bit before I head back to London.
Wow, that's amazing. You definitely are bringing the California sun.
That's better. Is that better?
And so we have moved inside with OLIVIA PFAFF. And so I'm so happy and pleased to have you with me today.
Thank you for having me, Eva.
Always a pleasure. OLIVIA, you were on CooLife Podcast a while back, and I'm wondering, has anything changed in your career, in your world, since winning Best Female Director at the Cannes Cinema?
Yes. So I'm actually in the process of publishing a children's book.
Wow.
It is about two monkeys who leave the zoo and they go on an adventure through London, and they are just having a fun time. And it's a book about family.
That sounds really bright and different, and something as a fun escape for young people. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's for ages to maybe like 3 to 7.
Nice.
So it's a very small niche.
Well, as a former children's entertainer, Polka Dot Door on TV and live tours all over hither and yon, I would say that's my niche. Those are my people.
I love that show. I just want to say that that show was so inspirational to me growing up, and I really liked it. And I remember the theme song just completely like it was yesterday.
Well, I remember that theme song like it was today, and it was so much fun. And doing anything with young minds and young people, knowing that you are making a lasting impression. Not that I expect children to wake up every day and hum the polka dot door. I don't expect them to do that. And just as maybe in the years to come, they may not open their eyes to the world and think about your book specifically, but the lessons and the activities and the new view of the world from your book is something that can stay with them. And it's all a part of nurturing the world that we live in. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. It's really exciting times, and like the main thing is like, it sends a positive message, and right now we just don't have enough positivity for the new generations, with all that's going on in the world, with the war in Israel, and with the war that is at home now, with the election results coming in as they were.
It's a lot of different kinds of turmoil going on for sure. And it is nice to kind of carve out a place of peace in our worlds. And
Okay.
Olivia, have you developed your next film project as yet?
I'm doing, I think last time I was on your show, I was talking about my book, my novel, Bashima, about the Afghan girl. So we are moving towards possibly making that in a film, but nothing is concrete as of yet.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm glad that you're always on the move with new ideas and new projects. And, that's how it always has to be with creative people, that you're always moving towards something. And so I'm excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
Now, Olivia, do you see yourself returning in any permanent way to Hollywood? You're in LA right now, taking a little break from London, England. But do you see yourself doing future projects from a home base in Hollywood in California?
No, I don't think so. I think that Europe is my home, and I got a few projects on the go over there. I'm opening in spring. I'll be opening a celebrity nail salon, and it's an exclusive branding product that offers a luxury experience at the spa.
Wow.
So I'm working on that, and then I'm just going to keep writing, I think.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you've got these exciting goals coming up. And, working in entertainment and formulating projects that really basically keep the industry going. Do you feel that audiences are using entertainment as an escape from reality these days?
Oh, that's a lot of questions. So I think that entertainment has kind of gotten to a point where it's meshing with reality. And there are problems with that, because it's possible that people may not know what is entertainment and what is actually reality. And so there's all this negativity that is being created where people are not really escaping reality, but becoming part of the entertainment industry through TikTok, through Instagram. So everybody is now in media.
Right. It's kind of blurred lines between what is pure entertainment and what is maybe exploiting a lifestyle.
Exactly.
The doorway of reality TV, it has kind of eaten through that fourth wall where we don't necessarily get that creative project as our entertainment. You're right, where it's really just taking real moments or moments that are based on reality from some of the prompting and pushing from the producers. Sometimes it's not pure reality.
So that's funny that you should mention that, because America just had their election and they voted for Donald Trump to become president again. And as you know, he got a start on the media main stage through reality television.
Right.
And now when he's president-elect, he's going through his office, through his team,
Right.
as reality television. Like, he's choosing people that are not necessarily qualified, but he's kind of building it like how he did The Apprentice. I don't know if it's presidential, but that's what he's doing.
Right. Well, I mean, truly just taking the fact that those were the free and fair elections that some countries don't even get to enjoy. And that's the outcome of it. As a Canadian, I mean, I'm watching from afar. It is kind of a domino effect here in Canada, but I think Canada has always welcomed whatever choices are made in the United States. Not that we have a say in it, but that's what Americans chose to do with their vote. And all I can say is, you're all welcome up here. Anytime you want.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering, and just bringing it back to entertainment in the industry, do you feel that Hollywood has finally gravitated towards the true colorblind casting that we were all waiting for in the 80s and in the 90s?
I am not sure. Like, there's a lot of roles for people of color and for non-traditional roles that otherwise would have gone to non-colored actors, like people who are not of ethnic descent. But at the same time, there's also roles that should maybe be reevaluated, where they use a person of that descendant rather than using a miscellaneous unknown ethnic person who could be or could not be of a certain race.
Now, I think you're tiptoeing around a particular framework. Is there an example that you can think of that would convey what you're describing?
I am tiptoeing, Eva, and I don't really want to be cancelled for the fourth time this year.
Okay.
I think there is Black Spider-Man that's coming out, and everybody's
Right.
kind of going, what is that about? And you know, they're going, well, Spider-Man's not Black. And then, for example, even the Little Mermaid from a couple of years ago, where they said, well, the Little Mermaid's not Black, but they did some Black casting. And then it goes back to the politics of America, where you know, for example, when there was the election, they said that Kamala Harris was not a qualified candidate because she didn't earn it, and they said she's a DEI candidate. And so there's a lot of that going around in politics, but also a lot of that going around in Hollywood.
Well, I will say that, you know, in the area of politics, there's a process, and this came up in a conversation I've had in recent days and weeks, that, you know, me trying to say Canada, I consider it somewhat evolved country in a global comparison. We had a female prime minister years ago, Kim Campbell, and, you know, persons known to me pointed out the fact that there was a leadership process that placed Kim Campbell as the leader of her party and then made her the Prime Minister of Canada, that it wasn't that Canadians voted her in. And I said, well, that's a process that can happen in Canada, where a leader can be switched out by just by the vote of that party. And that person becomes the leader of the country if the leader of that party also was the leader of the country. That has worked while there were men in that position.
Yes.
It's just our process that there are times when our leader is replaced at the same time that the leader will become the prime minister. And when men have become prime minister of Canada through that process, people don't really diminish their role. They don't say, well, you may be trying to get this law passed, but did we vote you in? No, the process brought them there. And the process brought Kim Campbell there, and she was prime minister. However long or short her stay was, that was how the rules work. And she was prime minister, and all due respect to her. In the case of Ms. Harris, that process of the president changed his role as far as running their party and being the selected candidate, and a process brought her as the replacement. And it was the process at that time for that situation. If the person had been someone else, if it had been your future president, Donald Trump, if he had been the one who had to have the role brought in for him just because he was stepping into another person's place, would they diminish the importance of his role? And I say I can accept that this is what brought her there, because those are the structures and the process currently in America.
But let's be clear what we're saying. There was actually there was sexism, which played a role, and also racism played a major role in this election.
Of course.
And she was never going to win.
I'd say your country is evolving. I'm calling it your country since that's where you are right now. And I hope that it stays an inspiration to many young women and girls to know that there is a place for them in running the world they live in, the government that really sets the rules for their country, and don't be discouraged.
That is such a positive message, but also it was Benjamin Franklin who said it's a nice republic if you can keep it. And so the question is, can America keep it? Can America afford 4 more years of Trump? We don't know. If you look at the laws of the land, you have a population who are criminals, convicted felons who have gone to prison. They can't vote. Their votes have been taken away from them. Yet you have a convicted felon as a president who is convicted 35 times of felonious charges and still became president. And so in theory, when he cast his own vote, he wasn't able to do so. It's illegal for him to vote, even though he ran on a platform of whatever. But, he's not actually legally able to vote, even though he is now president-elect.
Well, he wasn't incarcerated at the time of the vote, so he does still have access.
I don't think that's relevant, Ava. I believe that the rule is you have to be convicted of a felony, which he was. And he's just waiting for sentencing.
Someone look that up and put it in the comments and let us know. Convicted felon, incarcerated, convicted felon, not yet incarcerated. However, the facts are free and fair elections. Enough people didn't mind. If America wants it to be different, they will change their rules so it can't happen in the future. But for what can happen currently, short of a revolution, I don't think they can change this. And not everyone's going to be happy. I think it's like any negotiation. You've got a good negotiation when not everyone is happy. And if you do want it to be different in the future, change the rules. Right now, we're going to take a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters, and we'll be back with more talk with Olivia PFAFF on CooLife podcast. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. You're listening to the CooLife podcast. We'll be back in 3, 2, 1. And we are back on CooLife podcast. I'm Eva John, continuing our conversation with Olivia PFAFF. Olivia, do you feel that actual talent matters in film and television anymore?
I mean, yeah, I do, because you can't just like go and say, okay, I want to do this, and then be rubbish at it. Like, if you're, for example, a lawyer, then you need to be qualified. You need to go to law school. If you want to be a doctor, you need to go to medical school to become a doctor. So I don't, there's natural talent, and then there's talent, which is like, if you go to acting school. So I think maybe my answer is, it depends on the circumstances.
Okay. Now, have you ever worked on a project where the talented performers that you wanted to select, that those choices were overridden by the producers or a different force for different reasons?
There's been times, but everybody goes through that, and it's just part of the business.
Right. Is that that's not a hill worth dying on in Hollywood if they want to override your choice of talent?
I don't think it's a hill worth dying on at any time, really, because, just in business, in everything, if there are choices that people make and they have to live with the consequences or their actions. And so if they choose the wrong choice, then, the project suffer. The project might not be good, but then it could be great. So it just depends on each individual circumstance.
Now tell me, what are your thoughts on P.diddy and everything he's going through in the arms of the law these days?
Well, Eva, as you know, I went to law school, so I will always say that the law is there to protect its people of a state. And then furtherance to that, these crimes that he has been alleged to have committed are very serious. However, also grand juries don't come up with indictments, and prosecutors don't seek them unless they are maybe 99% sure that they can prosecute. So whatever they do have is probably very damaging. And so my opinion on P. Diddy, well, I mean, just listen to his music and, just how he's conducted himself in interviews and stuff like that. There's an old interview that's resurfaced with Justin Bieber, where he says that, don't say what you do at Big Brother Diddy's house and stuff like that.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. People take for granted encounters, and I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody.
So when he's saying those things, he's actually telling us that this is what he's up to. He's never hidden who he is. The messaging probably hit a little bit different because we were much younger, but if you listen to the lyrics, he says, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm up to, this is what's happening in my life. So it's all quite interesting. I've been following it, and it's sus. There's just either And then there's a bunch of celebrities who are coming out against him. Right now, I think the current number is 122
Wow.
different people are saying that he's they are filing civil suits, there's criminal suits, and then of course, there's the allegations against with minors, which is just, it's awful. But I mean, I think the bigger issue is the fact that Hollywood puts celebrities on a pedestal and everybody worships them, and they make it so that, society as a whole thinks that celebrities are better than the rest of us.
It is a thing. It is
because of that confusion comes in, and then you have these celebrities, they do whatever they want and they don't get consequences. Because if you look at Bill Cosby, he was found guilty, he was in jail, and then they reversed the decision on a technicality, but they let him go, which doesn't mean that he's innocent, just means that they let him go.
With
And
Bill
then you
Cosby,
have
he had an
Harvey
agreement.
Weinstein,
He had an
who,
agreement.
he's also been convicted, and then he did, but all those women, I think it was 85 women.
But you're right. But with Bill Cosby, he did have an agreement in place, which was if he came clean with all the ins and outs of what had happened and all the sources of the drugs and so on, that he wouldn't actually serve time. And then when they eventually put him in jail, they blew the dust off with this old agreement that said he wasn't going to actually serve time. So he kind of should not have been put into jail, only because all parties involved signed off on it. And it's horrifying, but that's the agreement they'd made at the time. With Harvey Weinstein, yeah, that's definitely a technicality. And,
But,
which brings,
regardless on the agreement that was made with Bill Cosby,
right,
he still committed those crimes.
Yeah.
Just like Harvey Weinstein committed those crimes, and everybody's saying that the prosecutors are trying to take down another black man and trying to get all these celebrities. But the point is that these crimes dating back to Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, and now Diddy is all coming to light, but it's all been going on for decades and everyone knew.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm speaking of.
Discovering that this behavior is going on for decades, and also no put down to the people who endured that behavior for decades and felt cornered, because that's how he got some of them, is he made them feel like they had no choice, right? And
I feel like he's, between you and I feel like he's like 100% guilty.
Right.
And I feel like, sorry?
Well, I'm saying they won't give him bail. Like he was in court yesterday trying to get bail.
Again,
he's
going away for the rest of his life, probably.
He must be in
when the civil suits come out.
Right.
Sorry?
He must be in so much shock, because it's so hard just even to eat in a bad restaurant when you've been eating in good restaurants. Just put it that way. It's hard to stay in a flea bag hotel when you've been in 5-star, 7-star hotels and, in $500 million yachts. And then someone gives you a cot and Bubba and the showers.
But, you play silly games, you win silly prizes. So
there's a price to pay for
around, he found out.
But again, it's just
exactly.
It can be hard. Like it can be hard to eat bad food when you've been eating good food, right? It can be hard to do that.
But you have to look at his victims. If these allegations are true, it's probably hard for them to do like daily tasks, like shower, like have sexual relationships, like, trust people. So I think that's a whole different game. Like, me personally, off the record, I don't care that he's eating bad food. He needs to eat bad food.
Yeah.
And especially, now these allegations, and it's just shocking.
And all he's got is a prison psychologist to speak to.
I'm sure he's got psychologists that he can get in because he is still a celebrity at the end of the day, and they do allow celebrities a little leeway while they're in jail. They
Well,
do.
we'll see. We'll
So
see. We'll see. I don't know.
he's probably not as bad as we think he is.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
There
I
was
know.
I forget his name. I forget his name. He was really rich in Vancouver prison, wherever, I think it's Surrey or something.
Right.
And like Surrey pretrial or Surrey men's. This was years and years ago. He was a Middle Eastern guy. He was so naughty. That's cash. Gave the guard like $1 million or something to look the other way. He had a helicopter land in the prison yard, just picked him up and took him off. And that was kind of like, wow, so everybody's got a price.
Wait, and did he come back? I mean, like that was his prison
No.
break with a helicopter?
He didn't come back. They didn't catch him. He literally just walked out of the prison, had the helicopter land in the yard, got on the helicopter and took off.
So did the guard with $1 million, did he like them? I mean, they didn't let him keep it. If you know about it, then they know about it. So I guess he's doing time. He's doing this guy's time for him now.
I don't know what happened. There was some kind of like I'll dig it up and I'll find it and I'll get it
It's
to you.
crazy.
But
My
to my
old
understanding
boyfriend.
is the guard just like quit.
My old boyfriend was an escape artist, right? He 13
Ooh.
escapes and attempts by the time I'd met him. He'd written a book about his experiences called Go Boy. He lives in heaven now. May he rest in peace. But
May he rest in peace.
But we met through skydiving, and so he had written a book about his life. He wrote another book called Bingo about surviving the prison riot to Kingston Pen, and then he wrote a novel. Yeah, Roger Caron, as the English would call him. Roger Caron, my boyfriend.
Okay, I'll take a look. I'll look it up.
He's
Sounds good.
I'm saying that when he escaped prison, and he did. That's the thing. He was an escape artist, but he certainly didn't have a helicopter come down and into the prison yard and come get him. So, holy mac. I might need to look into this and see, like, because there's just no way if they know this happened, and all the guards, it's just like they've all lost their jobs, right?
I mean, if you're making like 30, 40, 50, 60,000 a year and somebody gives you $1 million, do you really care about your job?
Hey, if you're making 200,000 a year,
$1 million, you can retire. You can retire. You go to like Singapore,
you can't
Malaysia,
retire on
Bali.
$1 million anymore. Not the way you used to. But it can give you a good head start, right?
For sure. For sure. But I mean, this is something that we're talking like 20 years ago, maybe more.
Okay, when money was still money. A little bit.
When money was still money.
Money was still money then. $1 million was still $1 million, mostly. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
No, I wouldn't do that for any amount of money, because in the end, crime doesn't pay. And I think Roger had a much happier life with me as a law-abiding citizen. He was a consultant for the Solicitor General when I met him.
Sounds like you guys had a really nice relationship that was very positive.
It was. We had a place of peace that we kind of carved out for each other, and and I even visited him. I found him. He kind of disappeared out of my life, and I found him in a tiny retirement home in the middle of nowhere. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, so
like where we put these celebrities on a pedestal, and then they just behave poorly because there are no checks and balances for anybody to determine what's going on.
Right.
Really.
I mean, there was a time when the press would cover these things up. Do you feel that celebrities are no longer protected by the press the way they once were? for their poor behavior?
Yes, and quite frankly, they shouldn't be protected by the press. It's not our job as journalists to protect celebrities. Our job as journalists is to get to the truth and to report on our findings of whatever the situation is.
Okay.
So we remain impartial, but we must also, show that the world is not roses and that people need to be held accountable.
Certainly.
And we as media, we can do that. And, it's interesting that you said that. And I hate to go back to Donald Trump, but he's already said that when he's president, he will start putting some rules in place to silence journalists to a degree.
Well, we'll see when those days come. It'll be very interesting viewing. I'll just have the popcorn ready from Canada. And with that, we're going to take a break to talk about our sponsors and supporters, and we'll be back with more talk with Olivia Puff on CooLife Podcast. Those lonely days of lockdowns and isolation are gone for good. Go to www.therealthingdating.com. That's www.therealthingdating.com. It's time to share. Share your time, share your life, share your love. www.therealthingdating.com. Join for free. Upgrade at any time, starting at just $5.99 a month. www.therealthingdating.com. Because it's time. This is CooLife Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to CooLife on your streaming service and on YouTube as Hellenique Today. That's HELENIQUE Today. Because that helps us to bring more cool stuff to your ears. You're listening to the CooLife Podcast. We'll be right back. And we are back on CooLife Podcast. I'm Eva John, and we're continuing our conversation with Olivia Puff. Olivia, have you encountered many good, solid, wholesome people in the entertainment business?
So I've encountered all types. There's some good people in Hollywood, but I've noticed that it's a little bit different in the UK versus Hollywood. And I think maybe they're a little nicer and like they're maybe a little bit more genuine, but also kind of similar in the sense that you have to kind of be careful in some ways, because I find that people who are in the industry, a lot of the time they're out for themselves and they want to make sure that they get what they want.
Right.
And they do some unorthodox ways to get through it. So it's questionable.
Well, I'm not going to leave that laying there. When you say unorthodox ways, for instance?
For instance, the casting couch, for example, we were just talking about P.diddy before the break.
Right.
And, there's allegations that he forced himself on Meek Mill more than once. Different people making the band where he said you have to have relations with me. If you don't, you're not going to be famous. And then dropping them after they do the things that he's asked of them. And so it's like, it just depends on what your view is. Like when people are trying to become famous, they will do a lot of things.
Sometimes that's
sex.
But in this industry also, I mean,
crime,
there's young people in the entertainment industry. How do you feel talented children and their families navigate the lasciviousness, the sort of sleazy underbelly part of the entertainment industry?
Looking at, for example, the P.diddy situation, again, it comes up because, Justin Bieber was 14, Usher was about 16. You got things like Amanda Bynes, Macaulay Culkin, Britney Spears, all those people. And it's now coming to light that certain things happen to them, even going back as far as Michael Jackson. And so you have to question the parents' motives, and you have to actually kind of wonder where the parents are in this and how they are navigating. For example, like I as you know, I have a 14-year-old daughter. I wanted her to be an actress and everything like that. And I got busy with my own career and doing other things. And so I said, I'm not going to put her in it, because if I'm not there,
Right.
I don't know what's happening. And a lot of the times I find that parents are not there, and sometimes they know what's happening, but they look the other way because they want that fame and they want that money.
It's terrible.
And it's important as a parent in the industry for everybody to just watch their children and trust no one other than themselves. You don't have to be vigilant or anything like that, but you do have to ask questions, and you do have to make sure that there's at least a good handler that you trust.
Right.
Because if you don't trust them, it becomes problematic, because so yeah, you just can't really just put your kids in situations. It's unfortunate that children do need to be in Hollywood films, because you need to have that little aspect of children. But we just, as a society as a whole, we need to protect our children better in the entertainment industry.
Right. Well, I mean, while I was acting, my daughter once in a while just would happen to have to be with me if I was going to an audition. And there are so many times when she was invited in, someone sees your cute baby, and it's like, well, it's a mother-daughter role if you'd like. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't like. I definitely made moves not to have my daughter in the entertainment industry, and she's grown up to be a very happy young woman.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I think anybody can work on talent, but do you want them in the industry, right?
I would say no. And keeping in mind that my oldest son, James Ainsley, he is an actor.
Okay.
But he started out a little bit later, like before he was actually like he did some small stuff when he was little. But as he got older, it just kind of pushed away, and then he came to it as an adult.
Right.
And so he's doing some fun things.
So cool. Well,
he's
got the right
latest
mom.
movie is we'll see.
So you're saying his
Not
latest
always.
movie? You're saying his latest movie is?
Yeah, his latest movie I think is on Tubi. It's called I Loved Her First. Okay. The director is Brandon Langford, and James plays the groom of the couple that are married, and it's a comedy. It's funny. Catch it if you can.
Oh, I'd be happy to look for that for sure. Now, I'd like to touch on something, and we kind of touched on a bit, stage mothers. Okay, you've had the opportunity to be a stage mom. I've shied away from that opportunity to be a stage mom. They can get a pretty bad rap. They're either, overly involved and pushy, or they're underprotective and not where they should be, or worse, they're just looking out for themselves, for their own careers. Do you feel that stage mothers understand their role vis-a-vis their children's careers?
I don't, because that's they got that reputation for a reason, and they come out like from the gates, and they have the me first attitude and not necessarily their children's best interest in mind. And so it can be quite complex on how they serve up their children's careers. And oftentimes there might be situations where the parents might need the money that their children's incomes provide.
True. No, that's definitely a factor for sure. But I mean, we've seen famous stage moms, right? Brooke Shields' mom, very famous, right?
But I mean, she was in her own right famous. Then she went and, you know, helped her daughter be famous. But then, like, lest we forget, there was a magazine cover actually, which just circulated recently, and I'm not sure who she was. I want to say it was maybe Richard Gere. I'm not sure who it was, but she was with a much older man, and she was about 9 years old, and they completely sexualized her, and it was on a cover.
Was that with Calvin Klein, you mean?
You know, that was interesting.
Is that the poster with
see.
Calvin Klein? Where I think he's hoisting her up or something?
No, it's a different one where
Okay.
where they actually call it, they use the word.
Yuck.
So they actually use the word, and I think she was about between 9 and 12 or something. I just saw it like 3 days ago. I can't remember who it was, but it was interesting to see. But you know, obviously 9 is still a child, and then it takes us to where we are as a society, because Colombia just banned child marriages, but then you got Iraq, who has now said 9-year-olds can marry and can consent. They've lowered the age of consent.
Well, I mean, an autonomous society and an autonomous country until we have the ability to step in, but there's a lot of discomfort with putting that into law for sure. Some very interesting subject, as always, to discuss with you, Olivia. And so this brings us to the end of part 1 of my conversation with Olivia PFAFF. And keep an eye out for part 2. In the meantime, thank you all for watching till the end. I'm Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Bye. And that was our show. Thank you for listening to the very end. Please remember to subscribe through your streaming service to get more access to our guest interviews. Also, please subscribe on YouTube to help support our podcast. Until next time, I'm Eva John for CooLife Podcast. Thank you for turning me on.